The translation booth hummed with the soft glow of alien technology as Maya Rivers adjusted her headset for the 15th time that day. Around her, holographic displays showed the flowing script of 17 different alien languages, each one shifting and changing as delegates spoke in the great chamber below. She had been doing this job for 3 years now, and most days felt like watching the same boring play over and over again. Maya pressed a button and spoke into her microphone. The Triaxian delegate requests clarification on trade route taxation policies. Her voice carried no emotion, just the flat tone of someone who had repeated similar phrases thousands of times. Below in the chamber, the various alien species nodded and continued their endless debates about galactic politics. The Galactic Council met once every standard month on this massive space station that orbited a dead star. Representatives from 43 different worlds gathered here to discuss everything from mining rights to territorial disputes. Humans had been attending these meetings for 5 years, ever since first contact, but they were never taken seriously. Most aliens saw humanity as a young race that might be useful for simple tasks, but lacked the wisdom for real decision-making. Maya watched as Triaxian Commander Voss stood to address the assembly. He was typical of his species, tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and eyes that never seemed to blink. When he spoke, his voice had that particular tone that many aliens used when discussing humans, like adults talking about children who might be clever, but were still too young to understand important things. Esteemed colleagues, Voss began, and Maya translated his words into the dozen languages that other species needed to hear. We gather today to discuss the human petition for full membership in our alliance. While we appreciate their enthusiasm, we must consider whether this young species truly understands the responsibilities that come with such status. Maya kept her face blank as she translated the commander's next words. Humans have shown they can perform basic services. Their translation abilities are adequate, and they have proven useful for simple construction projects on frontier worlds. However, we must ask ourselves if a species that has only been traveling between stars for a few decades can truly contribute to decisions that affect civilizations millions of years old. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Molari delegate, a creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard, nodded his massive head. High Executor Krim had a voice like grinding stone when he spoke. The Triaxian commander speaks wisdom. Humans lack the perspective that comes with age. They see only immediate problems, not the long view that true governance requires. Maya translated this insult with the same neutral tone she used for everything else. Part of her job was to remain invisible, to be a tool that converted sounds from one language to another without adding any personal opinion. The aliens had made it clear from the beginning that they wanted human translators precisely because they believed humans were too simple to understand or interfere with important discussions. During the lunch break, Maya walked through the station's main corridor. The artificial gravity was set to accommodate the heaviest species, which meant everything felt slightly too heavy for her human frame. She passed groups of alien diplomats who barely glanced in her direction. To them, she was just another piece of equipment as unremarkable as the air recycling systems or the artificial lights. She stopped at a small viewing port and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, hidden in the darkness between solar systems, were things these aliens had never imagined. Maya touched the small communication device hidden under her collar and whispered a few words in what sounded like random human language. To anyone listening, it would seem like she was practicing pronunciation or maybe talking to herself. In reality, she had just sent a coded message to Admiral Beck at Earth Defense Command. The message was simple: package delivery confirmed. Recipients are as expected. Back in the translation booth, Maya resumed her work as the afternoon session began. The aliens continued their debate about humanity's fitness for alliance membership. Delegate after delegate stood to explain why humans were not ready for the responsibilities of advanced civilization. A representative from the Keth worlds, whose species looked like walking trees with too many arms, spoke about human emotional instability. They make decisions based on feelings rather than logic, the delegate said. This makes them unpredictable and dangerous in positions of real authority. Maya translated these words while mentally noting the irony. The Keth had spent the last century fighting 3 separate wars against their neighbors over what amounted to hurt feelings about ancient trade disagreements. The Malari High Executor spoke again. Perhaps we are being too harsh. Humans do have their uses. They are excellent at following detailed instructions, and their manual dexterity makes them ideal for delicate mechanical work. There is no shame in recognizing one's limitations and finding appropriate roles within the greater galactic community. As Maya converted this condescending speech into multiple alien languages, she noticed something interesting. Commander Voss was not paying attention to the official debate. Instead, he was having a whispered conversation with High Executor Krim, using a private communication channel. Maya's translation equipment was designed to pick up all audio in the chamber, including these supposedly private exchanges. She listened carefully as the 2 military leaders discussed something they called the culling. They spoke in code, but Maya's training allowed her to understand the basic meaning. They were planning some kind of military action against human targets. The timeline seemed urgent, with references to tomorrow's window and, before they can, spread further. Maya continued translating the public debate while simultaneously recording every word of the private conversation. Her training had prepared her for exactly this kind of situation. She knew how to appear completely focused on her official duties while gathering intelligence that could save millions of lives. As the session ended and delegates began filing out of the chamber, Maya remained in her booth, apparently organizing her translation notes for the day. In reality, she was encoding the intercepted conversation and preparing it for transmission to Earth. The message would travel through a network of hidden relay stations that the aliens had never detected. She watched through the booth's window as Commander Voss and High Executor Krim walked together toward the station's military section. They moved with the confident stride of predators who believed their prey was helpless and unaware. Maya finished her encoding and activated the transmission sequence. The message would reach Admiral Beck within 6 hours. Then she gathered her personal items and prepared to leave the booth, just as she had done every day for 3 years. Tomorrow would bring another council session, another day of translating alien discussions about human inadequacy. But tonight, Maya had work to do. She had equipment to check, communications to establish, and preparations to make. As she walked toward her modest quarters in the station's human section, Maya allowed herself a small smile. The aliens were so convinced of human simplicity that they had never bothered to scan their translators for advanced technology or military training. They assumed that someone who spent her days converting words from one language to another could not possibly pose any real threat. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Maya's quarters were exactly what the aliens expected a human translator to have: simple furniture, basic entertainment systems, and walls covered with language reference materials. What they could not see were the quantum encryption devices built into the seemingly ordinary desk lamp or the military-grade sensors hidden inside decorative books. She sat at her small table and opened what appeared to be a standard translation dictionary. The book's pages were actually thin display screens that showed her real work: intelligence reports from human operatives across the galaxy, tactical assessments of alien military capabilities, and most importantly, a growing picture of something the aliens called the Cleansing Initiative. 3 hours after the council session ended, Maya's hidden sensors detected movement in the restricted sections of the station. Her equipment showed energy signatures consistent with military planning activities. She activated her most sensitive listening devices and began monitoring alien communications throughout the facility. What she heard made her blood run cold. Commander Voss was speaking with military leaders from 6 different alien species. They were not using the station's official communication channels, instead relying on what they believed were secure quantum frequencies. Maya's human-built interceptors captured every word. "The human homeworld presents the greatest long-term threat," Voss was saying. "Their breeding rate and expansion tendencies will overwhelm established territories within 2 centuries. We cannot allow them to reach technological maturity." High Executor Krim's voice responded with enthusiasm. "My analyst confirmed that human neural patterns show unusual adaptability. They learn our technologies faster than any species we have encountered. If we wait much longer, they may become impossible to contain. Maya continued listening as the alien leaders discussed their plans in detail. They intended to use tomorrow's council session as cover for a massive military strike. While human diplomats sat in the chamber discussing trade agreements, alien battle fleets would attack Earth, Luna, and the Mars colonies simultaneously. The attack was designed to look like multiple separate incidents. Pirates would strike the Luna mining facilities. A reactor accident would devastate the Mars terraforming stations. Earth itself would suffer what appeared to be a natural disaster, caused by weaponized asteroids that would leave no evidence of alien involvement. Maya's training kicked in as she processed this information. She had spent 15 years in Earth's Shadow Fleet before taking this assignment, and she knew exactly what needed to happen. Her fingers moved across hidden controls, activating communication systems that the aliens had never suspected existed. "Control, this is Nightfall 7, she whispered into a device no larger than a coin. "Priority Alpha message for Admiral Beck. The package is contaminated. Repeat, the package is contaminated. Request immediate sterilization protocols." The response came back within minutes, encoded in a signal that looked like routine maintenance chatter from the station's human technical staff. "Understood, Nightfall 7. Sterilization teams are in position. Await your signal for full deployment." Maya spent the next 4 hours documenting everything she had learned. The alien military plans were more sophisticated than Earth's strategists had expected, but they had one critical weakness. The aliens had never seriously studied human military doctrine. They assumed that a species only 5 years into galactic contact could not possibly have developed advanced space warfare capabilities. They were completely wrong. While the aliens had spent the last 5 years treating humans as useful servants, humanity had been using that time to study every aspect of alien technology, tactics, and psychology. Human engineers had reverse-engineered alien systems and improved upon them. Human strategists had analyzed alien military doctrines and found their weaknesses. Most importantly, human intelligence operatives had infiltrated alien society at every level. Maya was not the only human who was more than she appeared to be. The janitor who cleaned the station's command center was actually a cyber warfare specialist. The human chef in the diplomatic cafeteria was a demolitions expert. The maintenance workers who repaired alien ships were intelligence analysts gathering technical data. For 5 years, humanity had been playing a game that the aliens did not even know existed. As the station's night cycle began, Maya prepared for the most dangerous part of her mission. She needed to get closer to the alien military planning session to gather final details about their attack timeline. Her translator credentials gave her access to most areas of the station, since the aliens saw no reason to restrict someone they considered harmless. She made her way through corridors filled with the soft sounds of alien conversations and the hum of advanced technology. Her route took her past the observation lounges where off-duty diplomats discussed the day's events. Several aliens noticed her passing, but paid no attention. After 3 years, she was as much a part of the station's background as the recycling systems. The military section was restricted, but Maya's credentials included a special access code for linguistic emergency support. She had never used it before, but tonight seemed like the right time to test whether it still worked. The door scanned her identity and opened without question. Maya stepped into a corridor lined with tactical displays and communication equipment. The aliens' confidence in human harmlessness had just given her access to their most sensitive military information. She found a maintenance alcove where she could work without being observed and activated her most advanced listening equipment. The conversations she intercepted confirmed her worst fears. The attack would begin in 18 hours, timed to coincide with Earth's morning rush hour for maximum psychological impact. Maya began transmitting everything she had learned to Admiral Beck. The data packet included alien fleet positions, attack, vectors, and most importantly, the aliens' assumption that Earth had no significant defensive capabilities. As she finished the transmission, Maya heard footsteps in the corridor outside her hiding place. She quickly shut down her equipment and stepped out of the alcove, trying to look like a lost translator who had taken a wrong turn. A Triaxian security officer approached her. "Human, This area is restricted. What is your purpose here? Maya held up her translator badge and spoke in the submissive tone that aliens expected from humans. My apologies, officer. I was looking for the emergency linguistic database. There was a terminology dispute that needed resolution. The officer studied her for a moment, then pointed toward a different corridor. The databases you seek are in Section C. Do not return to this area without proper authorization. Maya bowed slightly and walked away, playing the part of a confused human who had simply gotten lost in the huge station. Behind her, the security officer returned to his post, never suspecting that he had just been talking to one of Earth's most dangerous intelligence operatives. Back in her quarters, Maya sat in the darkness and waited for Admiral Beck's response. When it came, the message was brief but clear. Sterilization approved. Execute when ready. Maya closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Tomorrow would change everything. The aliens thought they were about to eliminate a primitive species that posed no real threat. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had been preparing for this moment since the day they first made contact. The quiet translator was about to become something else entirely. The next morning arrived with artificial sunlight streaming through the council chamber's massive windows. Maya took her usual position in the translation booth, but everything about her had changed overnight. She had spent hours in encrypted communication with Admiral Beck, and now she knew exactly what was going to happen in the next few hours. The alien delegates filed into the chamber with unusual energy. Many of them kept checking personal communication devices and whispering to their assistants. Maya's enhanced hearing picked up fragments of excited conversation about final preparations and historical significance. They believed today would mark the end of humanity's brief adventure among the stars. Commander Voss called the session to order with more formality than usual. His blue-gray skin seemed to have a slight glow, which Maya recognized as a triaxian sign of anticipation. Hi. Executor Krim sat nearby, his bear-like features arranged in what passed for a smile among his species. Honored delegates, Voss began. Today we address the final evaluation of humanity's petition for alliance membership. After careful consideration, we have reached our decision. Maya translated his words while simultaneously monitoring the private communication channel she had tapped the night before. Alien military units were moving into position around human territories. Battle fleets that had been hiding in dark space were powering up their weapons systems. Everything was proceeding exactly as the aliens had planned. Voss continued his speech. While humans have shown some useful capabilities, particularly in manual labor and basic translation services, we must conclude that they lack the strategic thinking necessary for full alliance membership. Their emotional decision-making processes and limited technological understanding make them unsuitable for positions of real responsibility. The chamber filled with approving sounds from various alien species. The Keth delegate made a noise like wind through leaves, which meant agreement. Several smaller species that had hoped human membership might change the power balance in the alliance looked disappointed, but unsurprised. Maya translated every insult with perfect accuracy, but now she began adding her own commentary. The commander says humans lack strategic thinking, Maya said into her microphone, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's speaker system. He is incorrect. Humans excel at strategic thinking. For example, we have had ships monitoring this station for 6 months. The chamber fell completely silent. Every alien head turned toward the translation booth. Commander Voss stared at Maya with his unblinking eyes, confusion clear on his features. Translator, please clarify your last statement, Voss said slowly. Maya stood up in her booth, and for the first time in 3 years she looked directly at the assembled aliens instead of keeping her eyes on her equipment. I am Admiral Maya Rivers, Earth Defense Command. For the past year, I have been documenting your species' violations of galactic peace accords, including plans for genocide against human civilians. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates jumped to their feet, demanding explanations. Security. Officers began moving toward the translation booth. But Maya was not finished. She activated controls that had been hidden in her translation equipment for 3 years. The chamber's main display screen flickered and changed, now showing detailed recordings of private alien conversations. The assembled delegates watched in horror as their secret military planning sessions played for everyone to see. You believed intelligence gathering meant only technical specifications and fleet positions, Maya continued, her voice now carrying the authority of someone who had commanded warships in deep space. Humans understand that real intelligence is about intentions, psychology, and political dynamics. We have been listening to everything. Commander Voss found his voice first. This is impossible. Our communications are encrypted with quantum algorithms that no human technology can break. Maya allowed herself a small smile. You gave us access to your quantum systems 3 years ago when you invited us to participate in council meetings. Every translator booth on this station has been a listening post. Every human technician you hired has been gathering data. Every friendly conversation between our diplomats and your staff has been an intelligence operation. High Executor Krim stood up, his massive frame shaking with rage. You dare to spy on the Alliance? You primitive creatures have violated every principle of diplomatic immunity. We violated nothing, Maya replied calmly. We accepted your invitation to participate in galactic civilization. You chose to discuss classified military operations in areas where you knew human staff could hear you. That was your decision, not ours. The display screen continued showing alien conversations, now focusing on the planned attacks against human territories. Delegates who had not been involved in the military planning looked shocked as they learned what their colleagues intended to do. Maya activated another hidden system, and new displays appeared around the chamber showing real-time tactical information. Your battle fleets are currently moving toward human space under the assumption that Earth has only primitive defensive capabilities. You have made this assumption because the only human technology you have seen has been what we chose to show you. Security officers had reached the translation booth, but they stopped when Maya raised her hand. I recommend you listen to what I have to say next. Your survival may depend on it. Commander Voss was trying to maintain control of the situation. Whatever game you think you are playing, human, it ends now. You are one person on a station, controlled by Alliance forces. Your homeworld is about to face the consequences of your species' arrogance. Maya looked directly at him and spoke into her communicator with complete calm. Admiral Beck, this is Nightfall Actual. Execute Damocles. Protocol. Full authorization. The station's lights flickered as massive energy signatures appeared on every sensor array. Through the chamber's observation windows, space itself seemed to shimmer and bend as dozens of enormous shapes materialized from nothing. Human warships, each one larger than the entire council station, appeared in perfect formation around the facility. Their hulls were black as space itself, covered with weapon systems that defied every principle of physics the aliens thought they understood. Maya watched the faces of the alien delegates as they realized that everything they believed about humanity had been carefully orchestrated deception. You spent decades assuming human ships were primitive because you only saw our diplomatic vessels. You never suspected we might have been hiding our real capabilities. The chamber filled with the sound of alien emergency communications as every species tried to contact their home government simultaneously, but Maya was not done with her revelations. The translator you ignored for 3 years, she said, her voice cutting through the chaos, has been recording every secret you shared, every plan you made, and every crime you committed. And now it is time for you to face the consequences. Alarms began wailing throughout the council station as alien sensor systems registered the impossible. Where empty space had existed moments before, a human fleet now dominated every approach vector. The warships were unlike anything in the galactic databases, their design suggesting technology that should not have existed for centuries. Maya remained calm in her translation booth as chaos erupted around her. Security officers who had been approaching her position now stood frozen, uncertain whether to continue their advance or retreat to defensive positions. Through the chamber's windows, she could see alien crew members running along the station's external corridors, desperately trying to activate defensive systems. Commander Voss was shouting orders into his communicator, but Maya's equipment showed that his transmissions were being blocked. Every alien military frequency was jammed by human electronic warfare systems. The proud Triaxian military commander was discovering what it felt like to be completely cut off from his forces. "This is impossible," High Executor Krim growled, his bear-like features twisted with disbelief. "Human technology is decades behind Alliance standards. These ships cannot exist." Maya looked at him with the patience of someone explaining simple concepts to a child. "You based that assessment on the technology we allowed you to see. Did you really believe that a species capable of interstellar travel would show you their most advanced capabilities during first contact?" She activated another control, and the chamber's displays now showed tactical readouts of the human fleet. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets, and their defensive systems incorporated principles that the aliens had never encountered. The energy signatures alone suggested power generation methods that violated what the Alliance considered fundamental physics. "For 5 years," Maya continued, "you have seen exactly what we wanted you to see. Primitive human ships that struggled with basic space travel. Human diplomats who seemed impressed by your superior technology. Human workers who were grateful for the opportunity to serve advanced alien civilizations." The displays changed again, now showing the true scope of human presence in the galaxy. Hidden bases in asteroid fields, cloaked monitoring stations around alien homeworlds, and a network of intelligence operatives that reached into every major alien government. "While you debated whether to grant us membership in your alliance," Maya said, "we were building our own civilization, one that does not require your approval or recognition." Commander Voss had regained some composure and was trying to establish communication with the alien battle fleets that were supposed to be attacking human territories. His face showed growing alarm as he realized that all contact with his forces had been severed. "What have you done to our fleets?" he demanded. Maya touched a control on her communicator. "Admiral Beck, please provide the Council with a status. Report on alien military movements." Admiral Beck's voice filled the chamber through the translation system's speakers. His tone was professional and completely calm. "Admiral Rivers, all alien battle groups have been intercepted and neutralized. The Triaxian Third Fleet surrendered after we disabled their flagship. The Malari Heavy Squadron attempted to resist and has been destroyed. Total human casualties, 0. The chamber fell silent except for the continued wailing of emergency alarms. Alien delegates stared at the tactical displays showing their military forces either destroyed or helpless in space. Everything they had planned, everything they had prepared for, had been anticipated and countered. Maya stood up and walked out of the translation booth for the first time in 3 years. Security officers moved to intercept her, but she spoke a single word in human military code. "Overwatch." Red targeting lasers immediately appeared on every security officer in the chamber. The beams came from positions throughout the station, where human maintenance workers had been installing more than just repair equipment. "Gentlemen," Maya said to the frozen security team, "I recommend you return to your posts. My people have been in position for months, and they are authorized to protect me by any means necessary." High Executor Krim was trying to access the station's defensive systems, but every command he entered was rejected. "The station's computers are not responding," he said, his voice tight with panic. "That would be because we have had administrative access to your system since the second week I was assigned here," Maya explained. "Your security protocols were designed to prevent alien intrusion, not human infiltration. You never bothered to study our capabilities because you assumed we had none worth studying." She walked to the center of the chamber, her movements confident and precise. Every alien eye was fixed on her, but now they were seeing someone completely different from the quiet translator they had ignored for so long. "You planned to eliminate humanity because you feared we might become a threat in the future," Maya said. "You were correct to fear us, but you were wrong about the timeline. We became a threat the day we accepted your invitation to join galactic civilization." Commander Voss made one last attempt to regain control of the situation. Even if you have somehow gained temporary advantage, you cannot fight the entire alliance. Our combined fleets number in the thousands. You have revealed perhaps 50 ships. Maya's smile was cold and sharp. You still do not understand. Admiral Beck, please, show our guests the full extent of human deployment. The tactical displays changed once more, and the aliens watched in growing horror as sensor readings revealed the truth. Human warships were positioned throughout Alliance space, not dozens, but hundreds of them. They had been there for years, invisible and waiting. Every major alien military base is currently under human observation, Maya announced. Every strategic resource node, every shipyard, every command center. If any Alliance species attempts retaliation against humanity, their entire military infrastructure will be eliminated within hours. The weight of their situation finally settled on the alien delegates. They had not just failed in their attack on humanity. They had discovered that their entire civilization was already under human control. Maya walked back to her translation booth and picked up her headset. Now then, she said, shall we discuss the real terms of humanity's relationship with the galactic community? Commander Voss could only stare at her, his strategic mind finally understanding the magnitude of human deception. They had not been evaluating whether to accept humanity into their alliance. Humanity had been evaluating whether the alliance was worth keeping alive. Maya's hidden sensors detected the first signs of trouble during the evening meal period, when most of the station's crew assumed she would be resting in her quarters like any other human worker. Instead, she was crouched behind a maintenance panel in Section 7, installing additional monitoring equipment in the station's primary communication hub. The device she was placing was no larger than her thumb, but it contained technology that could intercept and decode communications across 17 different alien encryption protocols. As she connected the final wire, her earpiece crackled with an incoming transmission from the device she had installed the previous week. Human elimination protocols are now active, came the voice of High Executor Krim. Maya froze as she realized the aliens were speaking in their highest security codes. Fleet deployment begins at dawn cycle tomorrow. Earth facilities will be neutralized before they can respond. Maya finished her installation work with hands that remained perfectly steady, despite the ice forming in her stomach. She had suspected the aliens were planning something, but hearing confirmation made everything real. Millions of human lives were in danger, and she was the only person in position to prevent the massacre. She made her way back to her quarters through corridors that seemed normal, but now felt like enemy territory. Every alien she passed might be part of the conspiracy. Every friendly nod from Triaxian security officers might be hiding knowledge of planned genocide. Maya had spent 3 years building relationships with these beings, and now she wondered how many of them knew what was coming. Back in her quarters, Maya activated her most secure communication system and began encoding a priority message for Admiral Beck. The transmission would travel through a network of hidden relay stations that the aliens had never detected, bouncing between human outposts disguised as commercial shipping routes. Control, this is Nightfall 7. Code Black situation confirmed. Full alien conspiracy involves 6 major species. Attack begins in approximately 14 hours, targeting Earth, Luna, and Mars simultaneously. Request immediate activation of defensive protocols. While waiting for Admiral Beck's response, Maya accessed the files she had been building over 3 years of intelligence gathering. The aliens had made a critical mistake by treating human staff as invisible. They discussed classified information in front of translators, maintenance workers, and food service personnel because they assumed humans lacked the intelligence to understand or remember important details. They were catastrophically wrong. Maya's files contained detailed analysis of alien military doctrine, complete technical specifications of their most advanced warships, and psychological profiles of every major alien leader. She knew which species were naturally aggressive and which preferred diplomatic solutions. She knew which alien commanders were competent and which had earned their positions through politics rather than skill. Most importantly, she knew exactly how the aliens planned to attack human territories, and she knew why they believed the attack would succeed. Admiral Beck's response arrived within 2 hours, encoded in what appeared to be a routine maintenance schedule update for the station's human facilities. Understood, Nightfall 7. Defensive preparations have been in place for 18 months. Execute intelligence gathering phase 2. Document everything. Maya smiled grimly as she decoded the message. Phase 2 meant she was authorized to take significant risks to gather additional intelligence. The aliens had no idea that their planned surprise attack was about to become the most thoroughly documented military disaster in galactic history. She activated equipment that had been hidden in her quarters since the day she arrived on the station. Quantum recording devices began capturing every electronic signal in her section of the facility. Molecular analysis scanners started mapping the chemical composition of alien equipment and personnel. Most importantly, psychological monitoring systems began tracking the stress patterns and decision-making processes of alien leadership. Over the next 6 hours, Maya documented the most comprehensive alien military conspiracy in galactic history. The attack plan was elegant in its simplicity and horrifying in its scope. 6 alien species had been planning this operation for over a year, coordinating their efforts through channels they believed were completely secure. The Luna mining colonies would be struck by what appeared to be pirate raiders using stolen Keth technology. The Mars terraforming stations would suffer accidental reactor failures caused by sabotaged Molari industrial equipment. Earth itself would be hit by weaponized asteroids that would leave no evidence of alien involvement. Each attack was designed to look like a separate incident. Human investigators would find evidence pointing to different causes: criminal activity, technical failures, and natural disasters. By the time anyone realized the attacks were coordinated, humanity would be too devastated to mount an effective response. Maya's analysis showed that the aliens had studied human psychology extensively. They knew that Earth's government would respond to apparent disasters with rescue and rebuilding efforts rather than military action. They had calculated that humans would be too shocked and grief-stricken to immediately suspect alien involvement. The plan might have worked if the aliens had been correct about human capabilities. They assumed that Earth's defensive systems were limited to the basic patrol ships and planetary defense platforms that human diplomats had reluctantly revealed during trade negotiations. They had never suspected that humanity might have been hiding military capabilities that exceeded anything in the alien arsenal. Maya spent the remaining hours before dawn documenting every detail of alien preparations. She recorded conversations between military commanders who believed they were planning the elimination of a primitive species. She captured technical data about alien weapon systems that would soon be turned against their creators. Most importantly, she gathered evidence that would justify everything humanity was about to do. As the station's artificial dawn cycle began, Maya prepared for the most dangerous part of her mission. She needed to be in the council chamber when the attacks began, translating for alien leaders who believed they were about to achieve a great victory. Instead, they were about to learn that the species they had dismissed as primitive had been playing a game far more sophisticated than anything they could imagine. Maya dressed in her translator's robes and gathered her equipment, but this time she also activated emergency protocols that had been dormant for 3 years. Hidden throughout the station, human operatives received coded signals telling them to prepare for immediate action. The quiet translator was about to become the conductor of humanity's greatest symphony of deception and revenge.